I don't care what kind of phoenix it is, nothing's bringing this franchise back from the dead. It's okay, real students, the X-films can't hurt us anymore. New Mutants, right? Yeah, we should probably prepare for more pain. It's the sad truth that this cinematic string of X-Men films has brought us its fair share of pain. In fact, I would say easily 1/3 of the even dozen of films that they brought us have been terrible movies. And that is not a good batting average. Actually, that's an amazing batting average. That's not a good save percentage. Sports. And you know when this all started? 2006. Yeah, I know exactly when it started, and my real students out there will know exactly who they probably think anyways that I'm gonna blame for this. See, this entire time I thought it was Radner, but no, it was more of a Sith situation. The true evil was lurking in the shadows, behind the scenes. The man behind the man, the evil behind the evil, the true source of this all, Simon Kinberg. Yeah, this guy's career is just baffling. Now, granted, he's the writer who brought us Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I enjoyed. He also brought us the first Sherlock Holmes and Days of Future Past, but he also wrote Jumper, This Means War, and that Fantastic Four reboot that could have easily killed comic book movies forever. So Simon, did you finish your Fantastic Four treatment? Yeah. And for some reason, companies just keep throwing gobs of money at him and more responsibility. He's now a part of that subpar Twilight Zone remake, and yet Fox just continues to give him more opportunities, even making him writer-director now. I will never understand this man's career up to this point. Why he's been given more and more responsibility. Why he's become a power player in Hollywood given his track record. Why Fox has made him some sort of savior, or at least tried to, for the X-Men and Marvel properties that they own. Oh, because Fox tends to glorify white people who are terrible. I get it. But Dark Phoenix was actually worse than I thought it was going to be. It is one of the most one-note films I have ever seen, both in writing and direction. I equate it to a cinematic coma. I'm sitting there, partially aware of what's happening, staring in disbelief with distant voices of loved ones kind of talking at me. And I have to say, after loving Matthew Vaughn's First Class and defending it to some of my friends because they didn't think it was all that great, I can't really defend the First Class generation of films. And that has a lot to do with how much I hate how much they've changed some of these iconic characters for Hollywood convenience, for box office, for a myriad of other bullshit reasons. I'll touch on it again, but if you really want to hear my full thoughts on how terrible I thought some of these character changes were, head on over to my X-Men Apocalypse review. Here I go on another little Mystique rant again. She was never meant to be Jennifer Lawrence. They lucked into casting Jennifer Lawrence before she was Jennifer Lawrence, and of course they gave her the Wolverine treatment and made her center stage, but she was never supposed to be an inspirational leader for children. She's manipulative. She's supposed to be dangerous, but we only really got a taste of that. She's supposed to be a femme fatale, but we never saw that in this generation of films. And what in the every mutant is blue hell happened to Mutant and Proud? Remember that awesome relationship that Beast and Mystique had in First Class? And I don't just mean the romantic relationship, how they were two sides to the same coin, how they were trying to figure out what they should do about their mutation and their appearance, and how the two of them reflected the same kind of character relationship motif that Charles and Magneto have. So what happened to that? What happened to the OG Rebecca Romijn era where Mystique used to say mutants shouldn't have to hide? Anyone? Meaningless. None of that matters. It's like First Class didn't even happen. They had one great little mention about, yeah, we're the last of the First Class, and part of me really wanted them to go with that part, but it's almost as if Kinberg wanted you to forget First Class. I mean, it's worked in his favor before because he got everybody to forget about the fact that he wrote The Last Stand, because in Days of Future Past he fixed the timeline and it even worked on Fox, so go figure. But why make that film, why make that beautiful character arc worthless? And worst of all, Beast didn't want to look like a mutant, and he was kind of punished for his hubris, for his pride. But that all went away when he pretty much got his wish with that magical serum where he can transform into a blue beast whenever he wants to. But Mystique never made sense. The only thing it means is that Jennifer Lawrence didn't want to sit in a makeup chair. But even when they would look human in the film, it didn't make sense. It's like the moments were just picked arbitrarily. Sometimes they walked into the X-Mansion having been blue outside to then look human. Isn't that the exact opposite of what should happen? Shouldn't they be showing these mutant kids that this is the safe place, that this is where they should be themselves? As a huge X-Men fan, one of my favorite characters has always been Beast, and I feel that he is just the biggest tragic waste in this generation of X-Men films. They got him right in First Class to some extent, but in the last 2.5 films, I don't know who that character is. And he is such a rich character. He can be stubborn. He has an amazing history with the X-Men. He's an original X-Man. There's just so much to him that they never even tried to tap into, because basically he just became a lovesick puppy for Mystique. It's almost as if they forgot that Hank and Raven had a relationship. I actually call that the Banner Romanov maneuver, but regardless, there was so much that they could have done with Beast. There's such a rich history, as I mentioned before, and within the comics there's so many opportunities where he's been Dark Beast, or he's been antagonistic, or he's gone against what the X-Men want to get something done. He can be that kind of stubborn, he can be that methodical, and I thought maybe they're gonna touch it. No, nothing. You had Nicholas Hoult, who was perfect for this role, but this role was never perfect for him. I also give the man a hell of a lot of credit, because he had to act opposite of his Oscar-winning ex-girlfriend. And A, that's gotta be pretty awkward. And B, it's not like she gave him anything to act off of. Then we come to a man who never once phoned it in, which cannot be said for anyone else in this new generation of X-Men films. Mikey Fosse, yeah, the guy who stole Magneto away from Ian McKellen. And I want you to think about that. Ian McKellen had that role, made that role, was that role, and then Fassbender just said, hold my beer, with the dagger. That was an awesome scene, you remember that? I always thought his helmet looked like a small garbage can, which would explain why he was such a waste. Yup, that's a dad joke, but I don't care, because it is so apt. He was the best thing about Apocalypse, arguably the only good thing about Apocalypse, and that had to do with his story. But in this film, Kinberg gave him nothing to do. He might as well have not been in this film. And that perfectly sums up the entire film. The movie takes place in the 90s. That was a renaissance for X-Men. That new cartoon, the relaunch of the comic series to once again put the X-Men in the forefront. But of course, it didn't even look like it was in the 90s. It could have been the 21st century. There was nothing to hint at any of that awesomeness. No homage, no Easter eggs. You had Quicksilver, who was taken out of the movie in the first 20 minutes because he's overpowered. Great. But why even have him in the movie then? And we had Mystique for maybe 21 minutes instead of Quicksilver's 20 minutes. We could have had the Shi'ar Empire, which is part of the iconic storyline that makes Dark Phoenix. Instead, we had generic nondescript aliens and a super pale Jessica Chastain. Why? Just lifeless. But at least we got Cyclops dropping an F-bomb and threatening Magneto. So adorable. It's like when a toddler acts tough. Look at you. And that's the perfect comparison for Kinberg. He's a toddler pretending to be an adult. He's pretending to be a writer, pretending to be a storyteller, pretending to be a director. He had 2 opportunities to tell the Dark Phoenix story, and he failed miserably both times, as if he didn't even read the comics that this story is based on. It's unbelievable. I am glad that Fox has lost the X-Men now, and now it's in Disney's hands. I don't care what anybody says about the business behind it. I just want better stories. I want people who are going to treat it with respect. I've had enough. Dark Phoenix was a burn it. And that's not a pun, because I don't care for Phoenix and Fire. It was a terrible movie. Poll question, what X-Men story would you like to see Disney tackle first? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. But until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.